The Sinn U1, this is one of the most technically impressive dive watches that you can buy. It's a very well-made, purpose-built tool diver. It's very austere, and Sinn engineered and executed this watch to just a very impressive level. So this one belongs to my friend Chris. He's a moderator on the WATCHA group on Facebook. He lent this to me to check out and to review, to share with you guys. So big shout out to Chris. I really appreciate this. I've been admiring this watch from afar for several years, so it's pretty awesome to have in hand. I'll start by throwing some specs here on the screen so you guys can see the dimension and the size of this watch. Yes, it is pretty big, it's pretty large, and it's hefty. You know, you feel the weight of the stainless steel while it's on your wrist. But at the same time, I find it to be pretty comfortable. You know, it has the rest presence that I'm looking for, but it's not cumbersome or uncomfortable. And the matte finish everywhere just ends up being very comfortable. There's no hot spots, and I find it to be pretty enjoyable to wear. Let's take a look at the dial on a macro level. You can see the matte finish is also replicated on the flat black dial, and that helps those white block markers really pop. And I love that unique handset, the use of red as an accent, and what I really like is the subtly done made in Germany down there at the 6 o'clock position. It's just really nice to see. We have a blacked out date wheel at the 3 o'clock position, and I just find myself appreciating the legibility, the symmetry, and just the overall execution of the dial. I think it's really nice. Now, some of these technical aspects that I find impressive, let's talk about those. Probably the biggest one is the fact that that Sinn is using German submarine steel made by ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems. It's the exact same steel used in current production Class 212 subs from the German Navy. So that's pretty impressive. You know, it's seawater resistant, it's anti-magnetic, it's high strength, and it's naturally harder than standard stainless steel. And you can see it carries kind of a deeper, more saturated look that I think just looks awesome with this matte finish. So it looks very toolish, very austere, and I really like that. Now the bezel has gone through a process called tegimenting, and it's what Sinn does to surface harden the outer layer of the stainless steel. So the bezel here is hardened to 1500 Vickers, which is about 5 times harder than standard stainless steel. I think that's a very functional, very practical application, and you can buy versions from Sinn where the case as well as the bracelet and clasp has gone through the tegimenting process, although the one I'm showing you here is just done on the bezel only. Now let me talk about the bezel here. We have 60 click action, and surprisingly there is quite a bit of play in between positions. Now that's totally normal. That's what you would expect actually. Sinn designed this so that it's very easy to turn if you have diving gloves on, or if you had to operate it just with one hand. So being more of a desk diver myself, I would appreciate a tighter bezel action, although I do recognize the design thought that went into this execution. The movement in here is a Sellita SW200-1 that Sinn does tinker with. It's got really smooth winding and action through the crown at the 4 o'clock position. It's got an instantaneous date changeover feature at midnight, and this one's been running very accurately. Although I would like to mention that pre-2003, Sinn used the ETA 2824, and that's another critique I would have. I would like them to continue with using the ETA movement instead of switching to Sellita, which is what they use in the majority of their movements across their models. But I would like to mention that the movement is shock resistant per ISO 1413 specifications and anti-magnetic per the DIN 8309 specifications. So, you know, it is meeting all those requirements for this to be just a very professional watch. The case is rated to 1,000 meters, which is crazy, and they test it in a controlled environment to 1,250 meters, which you'd never go that deep, but it's kind of cool to see that this is engineered to such a tight degree. It's also low pressure resistant as well and certified by the DNVGL. So overall, very toolish, very purpose built, and very well executed. I'd like to mention the loom here. This is probably what you hear the most complaints with when you're looking at reviews, is the loom is not bright, especially when you're comparing it to like Seiko or like a Tudor Pelagos with their crazy bright loom. This is specially formulated. It's a custom formula that Sinn has made, so it will not be bright, but it will be longer lasting than any other formula of Superluminova. And I find that to be pretty cool. I'd like it to be brighter, but I recognize the fact that it is long lasting, and that's a nice thing to have, especially if you're actually using this in water for long periods of time. Now, any other negative aspects to this piece? I would say just one. We have a 3.5 millimeter thick flat sapphire crystal. It's double AR coated, so we have AR application on the top and bottom. So it's super clear, super legible, and Sinn does harden the top layer, so it will be very difficult to mark or to scratch. But the thing that I find to be a little annoying is this. It picks up fingerprints and smudges like crazy. So if that bothers you, you're going to find yourself wiping this with a cloth pretty frequently throughout the day. But other than that, this is a very well engineered, executed dive watch. I would rate this right up there with the Tudor Pelagos when it comes to functionality. It's a very impressive piece. I like all the thought process that Sinn put into this watch, and overall I've just really enjoyed my time with it. It's an impressive piece. Yes, I could see myself owning and using one of these one day. I really like everything about it. I think I forgot to show you guys the bracelet. You can see special hex head screws to keep them together. Here's the clasp and the case back. We do have a dive extension. So yeah, the Sinn U1, it's an awesome watch. Big shout out to Chris for lending it in. I really appreciate it. Check out the WATCHA group on Facebook if you're interested. And let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.